Hi, King Asin here. Aligning with your core values is essential for authentic creativity. Today I'll share how clarifying my principles has shaped my work and given me direction. Let's explore your unique values and how they can empower you to create art that truly resonates. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about the importance of integrity from a personal level. I grew up in a very close family, and there was a lot of strictness in the family in terms of what was acceptable within the family as well as outside of the family as a representative of family. So certain behavior, and I won't have to get into detail, I think that you can probably understand what I'm describing generally as acceptable and unacceptable behavior. And once that was established in the home, we knew that when we left the home and when we were in public, certain things were not allowed and certain things were going to be frowned upon. And if we started to engage in that behavior and we were in earshot or eyeshot of our parents, we would definitely get a look to let us know what was coming later, that things were going to get dealt with. But those seeds, once they were sown within me, laid the foundation for what, in my mind, was acceptable and unacceptable. Now, how that relates to art and my work and how I express myself is that I've always felt that if it was going to embarrass my mother and father, I'm not doing it. So whether it's creating art, whether it's public speaking, whether it's just how I represent myself, if it's going to embarrass mom and dad, it's not happening. So how does that relate to art in general? I've always questioned how certain artists who were, for lack of a better term, vulgar, could have the praise and support of their parents. Sure, I understand that they are your parents and they're going to love you and want to support what you're doing. But I would think that some of these artists' work might embarrass them a little bit because these artists are their children. And in our culture, certain behavior comes off as you not being raised right. So, not to project too much on the artists that do that, and as you notice, I'm not saying any names, but I know personally, I always want to make my family, particularly my parents, proud to be able to say, I raised that child, and that child has integrity, decorum, class, intelligence, and respect for self and others. And something that I know is, as it relates to cultural expression, when you have certain principles, when you keep certain principles and you have certain integrity, it keeps a door open for not just your demographic, but all demographics. Because as you would describe in film, it's PG, it's acceptable, or a G-rated. It's something that children can be a part of without endangering their innocence or projecting negative programming within them. So all that to say, if you keep some integrity, hopefully if it was given to you, if you keep that at the forefront of your creativity as well as your artistic expression, you stand to have art that will reach more people, even though a lot of people don't believe that. They think that you have to use shock value and vulgarity to become more popular. But what I don't think people understand is that there is a force that is hidden for the most part, which has an interest in keeping people down, for lack of a better term, and promoting vulgarity and lacking integrity as a means of keeping people divided and conquered and confused. And it's unfortunate that people don't understand that, and that scarcity has made it so that people are more interested in making dollars and saving themselves rather than, not saving themselves, but their own bank account rather than the well-being and welfare of their audience around them. But what those artists probably don't understand is that if they allow themselves to be used and manipulated by an industry that seeks to make them disposable, they will not have the staying power and timelessness that an artist who does keep integrity and promotes timeless, encouraging messages will have. So I'd like to encourage everyone to prioritize their self-respect and their integrity and think about their family when they create. I would like for all of you listening to ask yourselves when you're creating content, how would mom feel about this? If mom was in the audience or dad was in the audience, would they be embarrassed that I was creating this or that I was speaking about this? Because that is probably an answer that won't take long for you to know. And it's a pretty easy decision to make from there. If you would embarrass your family, you probably don't want to do it, or you probably don't want to express it. But if your family aren't embarrassed, and on the other side of that coin, if they feel proud to have you representing them, then it's something you want to stick with. And it's something that you want to encourage other people to emulate and to embrace in their own work. Because whether we like it or not, or whether we are told this or not, we are community. Wittingly or unwittingly, we are a community and we are role models. So maintaining your integrity is very important when being a creative, especially if you want to make resonating, timeless content and material in art.